Welcome to Ghostly.
Is Chandler Airport haunted?
Ghostly is a podcast that comes out every other week, except for this month because we're coming out weekly. In each episode, we take a ghost story or paranormal event and look into its complete history. Except this month, we're focusing on airports. Rebecca then gives us evidence proving that the story is real, and my job is to debate those pieces of evidence and get you, the listener, prepared to vote on if it's real or not. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, we're your host. I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we have a very special guest with us.
We
today.
do.
Yeah.
We do.
Can he be any more special? I'm sorry, we're doing Chandler Airport, so I have to be Chandler a little bit.
I can't be any more special. I'm as
no,
special
you
as
can't.
it gets.
You can't. Well, you are actually, because you are the only skeptic that has announced that they're a skeptic on our show. So I want to welcome Nick Mataragas from Memoriam Development, also from Freak of the Week. He is not David Hickney, but he knows of a David Hickney once in a while.
Yeah, I'm Hickney adjacent.
Yeah, you are definitely, and you're sick, so we are on Zoom. So pardon the audio quality.
Yeah, my illness is contagious. Well, at least one of my illnesses is. I want to ask about you've had skeptics on that haven't been open about being skeptics.
I can neither confirm nor deny those allegations. I plead the fifth on that.
Okay.
Well, I think Al has said, like, he was on that one a couple episodes, I guess. And
Al was, but then his ratings did not support his skepticism, I believe. So
well, it was a bit of an opposite day episode or whatever we were on at that
skeptic
point,
posers, I swear.
Well, that was on that one episode that that Hickney was on, I believe. Wasn't it Hickney?
Boy.
Yeah. Where he didn't know what we were doing, and we were doing different California things or famous people or something like that. Anyways, whatever. I'm going way too far.
It was a Skeptics Day episode. Yeah, it was. But Nick, can you remind me again, what is the name of your latest podcast endeavor that you've been doing?
Oh, yeah. So we're doing this podcast called Films Like the First Time.
I love it.
Where myself, Amanda Davila, and Dave Musto discuss films that one of us has never seen before. So we have a list of films that at least one of us hasn't seen. Every week, one of us picks, every episode, one of us picks one of those films. We watch it, and then we get the reaction of the person who just watched it for the first time. This last episode, which is coming out tomorrow as we record this, Dave Musto had never seen The Princess Bride, so we discussed that.
What?
Yeah.
That's one of the best movies of all time. I'm seriously.
I will need to listen to that because I need to
No, I don't want to know what Musto thinks of.
I'm a little nervous about what Musto might think of Princess Bride, but
all right. So Rebecca,
I'm
what is one movie that you have not seen that everybody else in the world has seen?
Oh, there's many.
For me, I'm gonna go Platoon.
Okay.
I have not seen Platoon. It seems very popular. I have not seen it.
It is a good movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to admit movies that I haven't seen because it really
That was kind of the fun of it. Is like the list wait, you haven't seen this? It became very surprising and like made us question if we really knew each other at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, what a good way to get to know each other better, though, is to watch a movie that they haven't watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have I seen Goodfellas? Yes. But I have not seen The Godfather.
You haven't seen The Godfather? Any of them?
No. I've seen scenes.
Like with the orange in his mouth?
I've heard of the horse head.
You've heard of it? What?
I mean, Amanda has not seen The Godfather either. It's definitely on the list and is a potential episode at some point in time. So
yeah, well, maybe I'll listen to that and then I'll be like, yeah, I've totally now seen it. I can even give you my reaction.
Godfather is one of those movies, it seems kind of slow, but it is like the most amazing movie, though. It really is. But it seems like it takes forever to get to where it's going. And it just, to me, it seems like, like you're like, Jesus, I've been watching this movie for like 8 hours, and it's
That's
like
like
you look
every
and it's like
70s
2 hours.
movie. Like,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I will say I'm a fan of Godfather Part 2 over Godfather,
that's what
Yes,
most people
definitely,
say.
but
definitely.
we can't watch the second one unless you've seen the first one.
No,
Right.
you can't. No, it's a
Yeah.
big spoiler alert then.
All right. We're getting off
Okay.
topic. We need to reel
Yes.
this back
Yeah,
in.
we
What are
have
we talking about
ghosts.
today, Pat?
We are talking about airports, and we are talking about one that I had never even heard of. And that's because this is like an executive airport, right? This is not
Oh,
one that the typical person would go to. It's more for people that are going around California and, just want to not sit in 10 hours of gridlock traffic. So they take a plane, and it's the executives. So we're
gotcha.
talking about Chandler Airport in Fresno, which, again, not, I mean, like I'm aware of Fresno, but I've never been there. I have never heard much about it. So this was really interesting. Rebecca, I know
Yeah.
you've been to California a lot. Have you been to Fresno?
I have not been to Fresno. I mean, if I have, it was like driving through it, but no, I don't I think it's too far inland. I don't think I
Yeah,
mean, I did the drive from San Francisco to LA, but I was young and I don't remember, stuff, so I can't like guarantee that I didn't, but I doubt it. Nick, how
sure.
about you? Have you been to Fresno?
No, but I know that the Fresno State football team is the Bulldogs
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay. How do you know that?
because I watch college
You
football
know things?
sometimes. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Okay, so we're just going to get into the episode because I think that the ghost stories are going to be a lot greater than the intro and the history with this one because there's not much. It's very interesting history, but it's very short.
Okay.
So we do have a shout out to give. I want to shout out our new Patreon, Kelly.
Yay,
Um,
welcome, Kelly.
yeah, so there's two ways to get a shout out on Ghostly. You could either give us a review on Apple Podcast. We always prefer those 5-star reviews, but we will read any and all review that we get. And just so you know, reviews on Apple Podcasts get us more listeners. That's why we're always trying to push for those things. Is because we want to get we want to expose Ghostly to the world. We want everyone to listen to it. Those words probably are not great. The second way is to become a member on Patreon, like Kelly did. You can go to ghostlypodcast.com and click on Patreon in the menu bar. And we have a lot of different tiers to choose from. Some of them give you ad-free episodes. So you don't
Early
have to listen
access.
to, early access.
Yeah, which we know the ads can be annoying, but all of this we promise is our way of keeping Ghostly going. We don't really make money on Ghostly, but we use all of your kind donations of either your time or directly your money to help us pay for all of the things that help us keep Ghostly going. So we really appreciate it, especially in the spooky season where we're putting out more episodes. So it's much appreciated.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I do have a ghost story.
Ooh.
It's time for a spooky tale from Rebecca.
I work as a gate agent. Working with stressed out customers freaking out about their flight is not always a cakewalk. But overall, people are usually nice enough, and I really like my coworkers. And I get airline miles so I can travel more without having to be a flight attendant. I recently moved to a new city and started working at a new airport. I made a friend pretty quickly who has been working here for a few years. She gave me all the real deal information I needed to make it through my first few weeks. But yesterday was my first night shift, and I wish she had given me a better warning. I mean, she did say something about ignoring customers that don't need help from staff. But when I asked her what that meant, she just laughed and said I'd find out eventually. I rolled my eyes and just figured it wasn't a big deal. So there I was last night at 11 p.m., waiting for the last flight of the night to land. I had a different coworker that night with me, and he went off to take his break. So it was just me. All of a sudden, I saw movement out of the corner of my eye. When I looked up, I saw a man carrying a suitcase crossing through the terminal. He didn't look around and seemed to know where he was going, so I didn't say anything. But just as I was going to look back down at my nightly reports, I noticed a woman appear. I mean, I didn't see her exactly appear, but she was right in front of a wall all of a sudden and started walking in the same direction as the man. When I looked over to see where the man was going, I was shocked to see that he was gone. I couldn't see him anywhere, and there was no way he could have walked out of the area without me seeing him. Honestly, I went on alert. I thought maybe he was hiding somewhere. That didn't make much sense, but it was just so weird. So I looked back at the woman, and she was walking just as purposely as the man had been. I watched her walk right towards where the man had been walking. I don't know what I thought. Maybe they were working together, or maybe he was going to hurt her or something. I just said in a loud voice, "Can I help you, ma'am?" Nothing. It was like she didn't even hear me. I left the counter and started walking towards her. I realized that she was heading towards the windows, so I started to go there too. Now, I know what I'm about to say will sound impossible, but she walked through the windows and disappeared. I saw it happen. I screamed, actually, and ran and expected to see, I don't know, a body on the tarmac, but there was nothing, which, I mean, the windows were fine. Nothing was broken. So how could that have happened? I didn't understand any of it. I was definitely creeped out the rest of the night. Now, I just talked to my friend and told her what happened. I was too nervous to tell anyone else. She just laughed and said, "Yeah, you'll get used to them. We aren't sure who or what they are, but the spirits like to walk through walls around here. A lot of us have seen them. It's best just to let them get on with their business and ignore them. I guess I have some new coworkers to get used to."
Okay, so Rebecca, how much of that is completely made up?
Well, it is a story based on sightings that people have reported.
You say that always, but then you say story, so that makes me think it's all made up.
Well, but I don't know. The stories can be fictional or nonfiction.
I guess.
Are we sure that these are ghosts and not like witches and wizards walking through?
Ooh, yeah. Or vampires, maybe, who
I
knows?
mean, we don't know.
Yeah. Maybe that's a power we're not aware of for vampires. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I actually had a little bit of a ghostly experience happen to me like last month. And I'd like to share that with you guys.
Okay.
And I waited until, the skeptic came on the podcast to bring this up because I need some help explaining this. And my mind can't wrap itself around the whole idea. And unfortunately, it plays in my mind all the time now. So about a month ago, I was sitting in complete darkness when all of a sudden I saw white. The tightest of white underwear I've ever seen in my life. This underwear was attached to somebody that looked just like Nick Mataragas. I am almost positive that it was, and it frightens me, and I am scared of this to this very day.
Did this vision come close to you?
It was too close. It talked to me.
Very close.
It talked to me. Yes, it was really, really frightening. I don't know.
So I knew as soon as you said about a month ago, I knew exactly where you were going with this. You are a ridiculous human being. For those that don't know what he's talking about, Memoriam did a sketch show at the Elgin Fringe last month called Fever Dream, and at one point I put tidy whities on over my pants and walk around in front of the audience and
still it was frightful. It was really frightful.
And Pat being in the audience and him being someone I know, there was definitely eye contact and
Too
some
much.
talking
Too
that
much.
happened because I knew he could handle it or not handle it, as it were.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
It was instead of a lady in white, we
it was
had
tidy
a
whitey and white.
tidy whitey in white. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Yes.
it
a very
was.
large man in some white.
Some white. Well, I mean, the underwear were white. Let's just make that clear so that people don't think, other things. But I
Oh yeah,
mean,
they were brand new underwear. It's not like I was wearing used
yeah.
underwear out there.
Did you burn them?
No, I actually I have them with me. Do you want them? I can send them to
No,
you.
no. I just imagine anytime you wear clothes that you burn them when you take them off. That's just what I need to imagine in my mind. That's
All my
all.
clothes have there's a burn bin for every piece of clothing that I ever wear. You're right.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
there you
extreme.
go.
I don't know.
It is. Okay, so we're gonna take a short break, and when we return, we're gonna get to the Pat Facts.
Pat's Facts. From a skeptic point of view. Pat's Facts. He presents it all to you. Pat's Facts.
All right, so we are ready to go. I have some Pat Facts for you guys.
Facts.
All right, so let's start with the history of Fresno itself. Fresno is the largest city in the greater Central Valley region, located in the San Joaquin Valley of California. As of the 2020 census, the region's population was over 500,000, covering roughly 115 square miles. That's not that big, though. I mean, for 500,000 people, just in a 115 miles square radius, I don't know.
Well, I guess so. Looking at the map, Fresno is between San Francisco and LA, maybe a little
Yeah.
bit closer to San Francisco, but definitely inland. So
Okay.
it is not, by the ocean.
Yeah.
It's definitely more, I don't know how desert-y it is, but I'm guessing, it's on that side of things. So,
Sure.
I
More
think
towards like
that's,
Arizona-ish, or like I've
Like
seen things with
Nevada.
like
yeah,
like Lake Tahoe kind of thing.
I'm guessing a lot of farmland
Okay.
is my
I might have
guess
driven
around
through
there.
Fresno because I went from San Jose to Lake Tahoe. So I might have driven
Yeah,
through Fresno. I don't know.
possible.
Okay, so the original inhabitants of the San Joaquin Valley region were the Yucuts and the Miwok people. They engaged in trading with other Californian tribes of Native Americans, including coastal people such as the Chumash of the central California coast, with whom they are thought to have traded plants and animal products
Oh, so people have lived there
for a
for
while.
a while. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So the Fresno Chandler Executive Airport is one of California's oldest continuously operating airports. Its roots trace back to the end of World War I, when the Fresno area lacked any aviation facilities. So recognizing this need, local couple Wilbur F. Chandler and Edna Marie Gobble
I'm
generously
gonna
allowed.
say Goebel, and I only say that because I had a teacher, Miss
Oh,
Goebel,
okay.
in middle
Miss
school.
Goebel.
I'm gonna
It
say
looks like gobble
gobble.
to me.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say gobble because I like the sound of that better.
Yeah, gobble gobble.
Well, there's only one O. That's the
Yeah.
other.
Okay,
Instead of it.
gotcha.
Well, then
But
it'd be if it had more than one O, it'd be gooble.
well, that's true.
So it is Google then.
No, I think it's Goebel.
Maybe you could Google
I'm so
and find out
lost.
if it's gobble. I don't know. Well, they generously allowed pilots to use their fields for takeoff and landing after the harvest. So this unofficial airfield became known as Chandler Field.
Oh, makes sense
There's
because that's the family name.
there's also another Chandler Airport, which is in Arizona, I believe, and it's a lot bigger than this one. And I got very confused at first.
Is that in the town of Chandler, Arizona?
I
I
don't
think
think
so.
Well, so that's the thing. My good friend lives in Chandler, Arizona, so it's been difficult. For me, it is difficult whenever I see this because
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Arizona. I didn't think that Chandler had an airport though. Like they're like a small suburb of Phoenix. They're not like, I mean, yeah, that small, but like maybe they do. I don't
I
know.
mean, we both live near airports, not too far
True,
from like St. Charles has an airport,
true.
DeKalb
Yeah,
has an airport. Like they
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be big to be airports. So Chandler's
That's
airport's
that's
true.
really
true.
tiny.
That's true.
It's actually pretty big.
Yeah.
It's one of the world's like 100 largest airports or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
So, anyways,
what we
yeah.
have learned, though, as we're traveling through airports, is that the world wars are definitely what seem to
Yes.
push all of these airports to exist, to have
Yep.
need for them, all of that. It's interesting.
Yep. Definitely the WWs do it. In the early 1920s, a movement to establish a permanent aviation facility in Fresno gained momentum. One of the most memorable fundraisers was the world's greatest aerial circus, held on Thanksgiving Day, 1923, at the Chandler Farm. This
Uh,
thrilling event
I was just going to
featured,
ask you, what is an aerial circus?
oh, you're going to find out.
Okay.
It featured aerial races, daring parachute jumps, and the breathtaking spectacle of dual wing walking, captivating the crowd and raising
Ooh.
crucial funds for the future airport. Now,
Oh,
for me, they would have scored even bigger if they let you play with the parachutes, because we can only do that when we're in grade school.
I will say that wing walking is by far to me the most bat guano crazy thing anyone could ever
Yes,
do.
yes,
I was just
yeah.
gonna say, like, let's talk for a moment about dual wing walking. So my assumption of
So
what
what
that
is dual?
is,
What is dual? Yeah, that's what
okay,
I'm
okay. So
wondering.
my guess is you got two planes, right? Smaller planes, obviously, but they fly where their wings are almost touching,
Oh no,
essentially,
that's not what I thought.
and
No.
then you walk from one plane to the other.
Oh,
That seems
I thought it was two people on one plane, like going
That's what I thought.
across.
okay, that probably
Yeah,
makes
that's
much
what I
more
thought.
sense. Because I'm like, how would you coordinate that? Like, that seems
I don't
crazy.
know. I Googled it. I can't get any examples of dual wing walking. I don't know what it is, but
So
they
you're walking
featured
on
it.
both wings, is what we're
Yeah, I
of the
guess so.
plane. You go from
I
one
guess
side to
so.
the other. I mean, they do it in Star Wars all the time. So, and
Okay.
the Clone Wars episode.
Yeah, yeah. Where space didn't seem to matter to them much,
Right.
or
Yeah.
anything. Okay.
Weird.
Oh, so in 1929, the Chandler family donated 100 acres of land to the city to be used as a public use airfield. The site was named after the family and opened as Chandler Airfield in November 1929. The airport was used by both civil and commercial aviation. On March 23rd, 1930, Charles Lindbergh and his wife landed briefly at the airport and were greeted by a crowd of 20,000 people. That's a lot of people for a tiny little airport. The
Yeah.
Works Progress Administration, the WPA as the cool kids call it, funded the construction of the airport terminal and administration building, along with other support buildings in the 1930s, like 1936. In early 1941, shortly before the United States officially entered World War II, the United States Army Air Corps Southwest Air District, say that 10 times fast, took over the airport while nearby Hammerfield was being built. Hammerfield opened in June of 1942, and all military activity moved there. Although following World War II, Hammerfield was decommissioned by the military. So it's only there for a little bit. What a cool name, though. Hammerfield. Sounds like a place
Yeah.
you'd play football.
I was wondering if there was any military stuff going into that because Fresno being so close to the coast, even though it's not on the coast,
Yeah,
a lot of California and Washington and Oregon was under that great fear of like Japan's going to invade the mainland, and there was
absolutely.
a big build up there. So that's not surprising at all to hear that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In 1946, the property was transferred to the city of Fresno, and in 1948, it reopened as the Fresno Air Terminal, or FAT for short. I'm
Come
not digging that
on.
name.
I love everything about that name.
It's the Fat Airport. You know,
The
it's
Fat Airport.
Hey,
Come
it's that airport.
yeah. The civilian airport quickly became a popular hub, drawing major airlines like Trans World Airlines (TWA) and United Airlines to its runways. Travelers could now fly directly to San Francisco, Oakland, and LA from the newly opened airport, leaving Chandler Field in the dust. So
Ooh.
Chandler Field was no longer in use. After the move, Chandler Airport was designated as a reliever airport. It sounds like something in baseball for Fresno Yosemite International Airport, and has been marked as an executive airport located closer to downtown Fresno. So we had like an executive airport here in Chicagoland area. It was called Meigs Field. And that was primarily for business people that were going not very far, like a lot of them going to, like, I hate to say it, but Green Bay, you know, stuff like that. Going really close to the area. So this makes sense to me that it's an executive airline. Now, I have done some research and I could not find any crashes that actually killed people. Rebecca, were you able to find any?
No,
Okay.
I did not hear of any. But obviously we know that land has had a lot of people on it over the years. So we'll go with
Yeah.
that. But just really quick, I did look up a little bit about wing walking. Again, that word
What about dual wing?
I
Okay.
don't see that, but there is such a thing. If we think about planes of yesteryear, that they had two wings. They were
Yeah, they did.
dual
They
wing
did.
airplanes. So I wonder if that's what it was just like, you know, you had the biplane with the two wings, or sometimes they're staggered. Anyway, so maybe it was about the fact that you were on the two different wings. Okay, 1911, it looks like was the first time this guy took his two stepsons on a flight with them standing on the lower wing.
What?
Yeah.
So why would you take off going, oh, well, this has never been done before, but my two stepsons can
they
handle
ride
this?
on the back of the truck when I drive it. Like, why can't
They're
they
not
stand?
blood.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It's not my heirs, you know. Like,
Oh my God.
whatever.
What a horrible stepfather that guy was.
Okay, so when wing walking was seen as an extreme form of barnstorming, and wing walkers would regularly take up the challenge of outdoing one another. Now, I mean, I'm just reading Wikipedia here, but interestingly, we talked about 8 wing walkers died in a relatively short period during the infancy of wing walking. Variations.
That seems like a small number.
It seems like a small
Yeah.
number. Doing handstands, hanging by one's teeth,
What?
and transferring from one plane to another.
Okay. Why are people so stupid? I mean, seriously, it's like no wonder why we need to have warning labels on so much stuff, because people will do stuff like hang from a plane by their teeth.
Yeah. In a 1931 article on wing walking on inverted aircraft touted the practical aspect of performing in-flight landing
Practical?
gear inspections or maintenance. Yes.
I mean, if you had to land the plane, yeah, maybe I could see then that would be something that would make sense. But I don't think it's anything you should do for sport.
I know. And then Charles Lindbergh, which, I mean, we could do
The
a whole
Lindbergh
episode
baby,
on
yeah.
Charles Lindbergh.
Which we might someday. Who knows?
Anyways, but his career in flight began with wing walking.
Interesting. So maybe that's the reason why he was there.
But with the stock market crash of 1929, the flying circuses, a lot of them went out of business, I guess.
Other than
too bad.
Monty Python's is the only one that survived.
I mean, I didn't realize that was based, you know what? I just thought that was like a funny name, you know? No, it's based on a real thing. Who knew?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I did because I put it in the script, but still, I mean, besides that, like you with the history of it, I didn't know the whole history of it.
No.
It just like, who was those first two stepsons though, think of how scared they probably were.
I don't know. I don't know, 12-year-old boys, they're probably really excited. I don't know how old they were. 18.
And who knows how far up they were off the ground. They could have been
early,
5 feet off the ground. I don't know.
True. True.
I'm going to
1911.
assume, but still,
Yeah.
what a bad stepfather that was. Please, if you have stepchildren, please do not have them walk out on the wings of planes.
Look, it was
That's a PSA.
1911. 1911, they were
Yeah.
probably still just giving the kids laudanum to calm them down, so it's probably
Right?
fine.
It's probably fine. And I just have to say, air and water show is a big famous thing in Chicago. Boring. Why don't we
Yeah.
have this
When you have
happening?
wing walking, yeah. They just fly closer together. I mean, that's
They
all
just
that they
do
do.
maneuvers. Oh,
Yeah, who
whatever.
Blue
needs
Angels got nothing on this.
right? Who needs Blue Angels when you can end up with real new angels?
New Angels, yeah. And women in white too, maybe, you know. All right. So anybody else have anything to add to the history here?
So there's no history of somebody dying at the airport.
No
Okay.
history. I mean, of in a flight that I could
Okay.
find. I did a thing for like airplane crashes. I found several. There were several crashes, but every single time the people walked away from it. So maybe it's actually it saves people's lives here. I don't know. It is the opposite of a ghost story. It is a person story. That's what this is.
A life story.
A life story. All right, so we're going to take another short break, and when we return, Rebecca is going to give us evidence that me and Nick are going to say is not true.
Yeah.
All right, Rebecca, are you ready for this debate?
I am ready. As ready
All
as I
right.
can be. Here we go.
I don't think I'm ready. I really don't. I don't. Yeah. Okay, but let's do it anyways.
All right. So a lot of the evidence of this haunting activity
Is not true.
it comes from
Okay.
staff,
Oh.
not so much passengers. So
okay,
I
also
think
when you said that like that person was there overnight, was that part of your story or was that something that was said? Because
no, that's
I
just my
don't.
story.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say I don't know why you'd be there like overnight when it's mostly executives flying from
Well, I
one
didn't
place to
say
the
overnight.
next.
I was very specific that it was like 11 o'clock. Last flight's going to be coming
Okay,
in. This was
gotcha.
not 2
Okay, all right.
a.m. Because I mean, Chicago is open a lot of times, like all night, but that's not O'Hare is, but like most airports are not. So,
Yeah.
I've been in the unfortunate position of that where whatever, whether
Well,
you land at some airport and it's like already closed and it's annoying.
I mean, your brother lives by a smaller line or
Both of
airport.
them do. Yeah.
Yeah, like Appleton, that's pretty small. I would
It
imagine
is.
that they're not open at night.
No. So,
Okay.
but I would
Anyways.
imagine an executive would, might have some late night flights. Anyways,
Okay.
and I still think there's other flights that come in. Okay.
Okay.
So here we go. So we're talking about the staff. So
Mhm.
they've been interviewed, and these are reports that they have shared. So, so the first is in the main terminal area, and this is my story, right? So, that's where most of the activity takes place, and that one of the workers there, has claimed that they've seen several figures emerge from a wall near where you would buy tickets, only to watch them walk across the room and then vanish, like oblivious to the fact that he was even watching them. So they just like vanish, right? And then others reported while they were outside of the building, seeing figures moving inside, and upon entering the building, find it to be completely empty. Again, it's a smaller airport,
right.
so, and these are workers, so I'm guessing it's when they're there by themselves, not with other people. So I don't know.
Sure.
But, so yeah, so like figures coming in through walls, essentially, and then vanishing.
All right. Well, Nick, since you're our guest, I'm going to let you go first. If you have anything to say about this story, your feelings.
Feelings.
I mean, I don't know. The one seeing people moving around from the outside, that could just be like reflections and things. Like that's not really doesn't feel like anything. The figures moving through the walls, you said it was near where the ticketing was. I mean, it could
Mhm.
just be like they weren't paying attention and somebody walked by. Um, I don't know. It's hard, especially with the like zero history of any tragic events happening. To go, oh yeah, it's hard even when people are like, I saw a thing, to not just go, okay, but that could have just been a dude walking by and you weren't paying attention.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to actually. So, okay, you're looking at it very scientifically, very like there has to be an explanation. I think this is just an outright story. I think this is just someone made something up. But I mean, I started thinking when you were talking about going through the walls and stuff like that, is that obviously this is a residual ghost that is supposedly there. Residual ghosts are ghosts that play out like a movie, pretty much. Always the same thing, always do the same exact thing. They don't have intelligence. They can't stop and talk to you. They can't, even if you feel that they are not. They are repeating the same thing that they always do. But why would they walk through a wall? Like the wall would have to have not been there when they became a ghost and then put up there, and that's the reason why. But I mean, I like there's just so much weirdness with this story that I'm like, I think it's just made up. That's all. So I will be the first to rate it. I'm gonna go 0 on this one. Nick, would you like to go next?
Sure. My score, very surprisingly, is 0.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna give it a 5 of like,
Okay.
there's not, again, as you said, there's not like a lot of like what could have caused this, but also though people have been living on the land for a long time, so we don't know, and they're just because
It was
this
a farm.
building.
It
But
was a
before that, you
farmland.
talked about Native Americans living in the area,
in
right?
in Fresno. I
Yeah.
never said over that land though.
Well, why wouldn't they be but just where the
Maybe it was a
airport
farm
was, no one
for
ever lived
eternity.
there?
I would
Who
I would think
knows?
though if it was Native American that was living like the ghost of a Native American, that the people that saw it would have been like, it was weird because you were dressed in like
In tribal,
old
yeah,
tribal
yeah.
clothing instead of
I
like
don't know.
a
I
dude
don't
in a
know.
suit or something.
There was
Well,
a
and
bunch of feathers and stuff. It was
it could
really
also
weird.
be someone that flew there a lot in their life. That was a place they felt comfortable, and so that's where they returned. I don't know, right? I don't. There's not a ton of detail, so it's hard to say for sure. So that's why I'm giving it a 5.
Exactly. Well,
But possible.
Rebecca's 5 is equivalent to our 0. That's what it is. So that's it translates. That means that she is not. There's nothing really. She just
I've
can't
gone
go
lower than
negative.
5. I've absolutely gone lower than 5 before.
Yeah. But I am really thankful because not often do I get somebody to help me argue with Rebecca. Usually it's just me sitting here talking to Rebecca. And I have to apologize for the last episode. I got a little upset that I wasn't understood when actually the reality of it, now listening back to it, is that they just had opposing views that didn't make sense to me. So I didn't understand. That was my fault. So I apologize, but now I have someone on my side. I don't need to stress out. I'm gonna totally win this one. So
I'm
let's
not
go to
Pat, I'm not
the.
on your side. I'm on the
You
truth
are
side.
Uh-huh.
exactly. That happens to be my side. So, all right, Rebecca, take it away.
Okay. Next is so other staff have seen a figure of an older man in the old control tower, which is on the second floor of the administration building, staring out onto the field as if he is watching invisible planes taking off and landing. So
Okay, Nick, being the guest, you can go first.
This is once again feels like it's from a distance. Also, it could just be some dude who likes to go out there and look at things from the old control tower, or Sasquatch. Could be Sasquatch.
You'd be more willing to believe in like a Sasquatch than a ghost.
I then a ghost, yes, not by a lot,
Yeah.
but yes.
So would I. That's why I ask. I am more willing to believe in a Mothman because I've seen him, than versus, that. But yeah. So what I'm going to say about this is that, so the control tower was built in the 1930s, if I'm not mistaken, and it's been around ever since. At least it was the same in 2022 when I could find information about it. So that makes it one of the oldest control towers too. Interesting fact. Anyways, yeah, I think this is part of someone's imagination, or I think they want to make it seem like they work in a cooler place than they actually do. They work in a place where a bunch of suits walk through every day and drink coffee and read newspapers, and that's about all that happens at that place.
They still
So
read
I'm gonna
newspapers?
I was just gonna say, wow, what is
businessmen
this?
do,
Are they
yeah.
smoking cigarettes too? Are they...
Yeah.
Yeah, and stogies when they come home. So
Using the payphone.
yeah, yeah. All
So,
the row of payphones, they have to have that.
yeah, we're
Look,
just
it's-
describing airplane.
It's Fresno. It's not like they live in the big city.
I mean, that is the big city for them. So I'm going to go 0 on this one again. I don't think that there's anything substantial. Snap a picture, take a video, come up with something. Come on, Ghost, you can do better.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm a 0. For me, mostly it's the distance thing. I mean, like it's
Yeah,
hard to be like, oh, this is a thing when it's people are spotting it from a distance.
Well, I don't
yeah.
necessarily know that it is from a distance. I don't know what the distance is because this is something that is on the second floor of the administration building now. Like it's not, it's the old control tower, right?
Mhm.
So they could be seeing them right in front of them. I don't know. I guess my thought was it could be somebody that used to work there, that used to be control tower person, and that was his life, and that's what he enjoyed doing. And so in death, that's where he returned, and that's where he's at. So I'll give it a
So
6.
again, one really sad ghost that has to keep working after he dies.
Yeah, or
You know.
chooses to. I don't know if he's just watching.
All right, so let's move on.
All right, let's move on. So the main terminal isn't the only area that has activity. So there's also a restaurant that is adjacent to the terminal area. So same building, but just adjacent. And this is someone from like Weird Fresno that did this interview, but talked to the staff and they say that it is very active. They often hear voices late at night while they're closing, but there's nobody there.
Okay. Nick, I believe you're up first.
Sure. I used to work late nights at restaurants. We would drink after we closed. Honestly, at the end of a shift when you're just dead tired, like your mind's not fully there. Like unless this is like the ghost of a Fuddruckers or something, I don't know. Like hearing some random voices doesn't feel like, oh, it's the spirits coming for a basket of fries. I don't know. It just doesn't. It
Well,
didn't feel substantial enough.
the last time that I heard a random voice was actually at your place, Nick, when there was a fire going and we were walking away. I heard somebody say hello, and there was nobody there. And
Turned out it
I
was
think you
Obi-Wan
heard it too,
Kenobi.
Rebecca.
Yeah, I was there. It was super
Yeah.
freaky. Yep.
It was really weird. Yeah. And it sounded like Amanda, but she was in a different location at that time. So, for me, I'm going to say that there is a lot that can happen in an airport and in a restaurant within the airport. There's a lot of different noises that you could be hearing. I would imagine that even though it's late at night or whatever, that there are people cleaning up. And I imagine the walls are probably not that thick there and you could probably hear through them. So I'm going to say 0 on this one. There's a logical explanation to what it could be.
All right, I'm gonna give this one. I'll give this one a 6 because there are multiple people, and they clearly checked out the area, and there was no one there. So I mean, it wasn't like it was just one person that heard something. So
okay.
Now you guys, I hope will love this story as much as I do. It's not a bathroom story, unfortunately. Nick, we've had several bathroom ghosts lately.
She likes the
but
bathroom
And
ghost.
I'm not invited to the bathroom ghost
I
stories.
know. We should make sure for that in the future. Okay, here we go. So the kitchen, we're in the kitchen area now of the restaurant. So the kitchen staff were cleaning up one night when they heard a rattling noise. They looked to the direction where the noise was coming from and saw a plate wobbling across a countertop until it fell over the edge and onto the
Dum
floor.
dum dum.
This was late at night, and there were no aircraft or other vehicles in the vicinity that could have caused there was no rumbling or shaking or anything going on. And this was important that they included, interestingly enough, the plate did not break when it hit the floor.
Again, it saves lives. It doesn't ruin lives.
Exactly.
Here.
Yes.
Just for this is okay. So this is the kitchen staff. Okay, Nick, why don't you go ahead then?
I think they probably need to have a visit from the health department. My guess would be a rat ran across the counter when they weren't looking and knocked over a plate.
Interesting that you would do that, because I was going with, what about if it was a small earthquake?
Well, again, I think they would have
We are in
noticed
California here, so I mean,
like an earthquake just for that one part of the kitchen.
or
It's a microclimate.
Yeah, it is a microclimate. Maybe it is for a small location. That can happen.
Yeah, but I think
that
they
is
would
within physics
see
that it
or
could
notice
happen.
that was happening. I'm just in my mind. I
Yeah,
think
for me, it was definitely a critter, like the idea of a critter running across, because easy to miss, and the repercussions of it, knocking something over, totally plausible. And plates don't break a lot. Like, there are definitely plates that don't break when they hit the floor.
Yeah, especially if you use paper plates.
Yeah, or metal plates.
Or metal plates.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the weirdness of that though is okay, like if the plate had broke, I could see it being like they came up with this ghost story because they wanted a reason for why a plate broke.
To explain why a plate broke
Exactly,
in a restaurant.
that it wasn't like an animal, that it wasn't them.
Plates
No one
break
did
every
it.
day in a restaurant.
I don't know, but it didn't.
They
So
don't have
why
like a
would they come
plate
up with this
breaking.
story? Like, what was the point of having
They
this
don't.
story?
They don't have like a plate breaking budget where they're like, oh man,
I bet they do.
we blew our budget on plates this month, so
I mean,
we can't
there would
break
be a
another
point.
one. Oh, it's a ghost that did it. I don't know. So I'm gonna go 0 on this one. I'm sorry, I'm not feeling it.
What about
Nick?
you,
I'm assuming you're 0 as well. So.
Yeah, definitely a 0.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm giving this one a 7, just because I think
7.
it's interesting. Yes.
Oh, so not because it's true, but because
it's
not
interesting.
because there's any facts.
I think it's possible.
So
what else can I say? The multiple
so the
people,
person with the
no, nothing vibrating, and it just that would freak me out if I was working there and that happened. I'm sure they would have seen a rat. They would have seen a rat or a mouse.
Rats are pretty sneaky. I also want to point out that I think this is probably going to be the most hated episode by believers ever.
Yeah, I think so too. But Rebecca, you are that person that would say that because they have the greatest stories that they should be king. Saying that this is an interesting story, and you're going to give it a 7. So spoiler alert, Game of Thrones reference there. But anyways, yeah, so 0 on that one. I'm sorry, Rebecca.
I mean, I understood how that story could have worked for him to become king, but I don't believe that they delivered on that in the show. Okay. All right.
So what do you give Game of Thrones then? I'm going to give Game of Thrones a 0. I don't think it actually happened.
All right. I give it a 7. It started well, ended bad. Okay. So last one. This is one that I sent to both of you an email, because a lot of times Pat complains because I didn't see it, I didn't hear it.
So I have to debate your evidence. It's not complaining. but it's like, that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to say I didn't hear it, so I can't
Uh-huh.
say. Usually you get a better grade if you don't. You get a better
Well,
number out of me if you
you
don't.
usually, recommend that I don't send it to you.
Yeah.
But this time I wanted to because I wanted you
Okay.
both to hear it. So we
Okay.
had some paranormal investigators that were at the airport doing an investigation. They did have some staff with them
Yes.
while doing it, and they did some ghost spirit box sessions, trying to communicate with ghosts at the airport. So some examples of things that they caught the spirits saying were fly up there and I'm stuck, which happened like several times. They answered 8 to how many people were there, and they asked, "Are you including yourselves?" Because there weren't 8 of them, and they said yes. And there was also a moment where they asked, "Are you hurt?" And there was a big thud that could be heard.
All right,
Which,
Nick, you want to take this
wow,
first?
what'd you think of it?
So there were two different devices they used.
Yes.
The first thing I will preface this by saying is that w- these devices are made for people to do paranormal investigating, right? And the idea, so put into question how these are made and what they're intended to do. And the first device very felt like it was something made to kind of regurgitate or rehash verbiage that was being spoken to it. It felt that way when I watched it. The second one was even more dubious to me. It just felt like an AM radio on scan. It really did.
That's what they're supposed to be. It's
Right,
just a radio on scan.
but that's how it just feels like that. And then yeah, sometimes words are going to come out that you're like, "Oh, that fits with what we're looking at." I mean, it's it's literally looking for the thing you're looking for, right? And going, "Oh, this connects to my thing." It's kind of like when you go see a medium and they scan through things until you recognize something and then they jump on that, right? It feels like that initial part of that conversation with the medium, which is a lot of, sorry if you feel like mediums are real. There are definitely ones out there that are hokum, and that feels like that to me, right? And we've all had experiences with boxes and things like this before. I've been called bad names by one. But
I think we could say the name, because this is family friendly, but douche is, something
sure.
that I think we
Yeah.
could say. Yeah.
So, in
Yeah.
other words, I mean, I think, Pat, would you say that was an accurate spirit box
The
insult? Yeah,
douche, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
that was
that
definitely
happened.
that was
Sure.
that was on the nose, and it's not usually. So
Yeah,
that
but
one.
these, I don't know, it just all felt like, oh, look, it said this thing that definitely connects, or like, I don't know, it all felt
Yeah.
not like there was like real intention there, but like that the people doing the investigation were finding the things in there that they could hold on to.
Yeah. So a couple of things I'm going to say is, first of all, the first one sounded very computerized. It was like a robot, and like how I sounded on the last episode because of Zoom quality on that one. So, but if we boil it down, Nick was talking about how they're made for these kind of things. They're made to use the internet, which those are the ones that you only hear like a couple of words. You don't hear all the little in the middle of it. You just hear the words that that they want you to hear. And then there's the ones that are hooked up to some kind of radio frequency, maybe not AM, but it is radio frequency. It could be CBs too. Although I don't know how big CBs are nowadays. I have not done one in a long time. But anyways, um, so it can answer questions, but a lot of times I don't like these kind of videos because they are telling you what they heard. If you don't see the words on the screen, you have to come up with what you heard. And usually what you heard is different than what they heard. And that's because we read into these things. Our brain scans these things for words that are identifiable. You do it when someone's talking a different language as well. You will try to pick up on English words. So the spirit box, interesting, funny kind of device that they use. I mean, I love the lore of it, but it's just I don't think there's any truth to it.
All right. So for me, a couple things. Number one, let's just say, right, we all have seen a potentially successful spirit box session happen before, right?
Because it's a douche. Yeah.
Also, we had someone we know had a very interesting conversation. But going with this, so what I try to do now, because I know that is a thing, right? Like I know if I'm watching it and I see the words, that's definitely, I can't know for sure if that's what I
Yeah.
would have heard.
Mhm.
So I don't watch. I
Mhm.
listen the first time when I go through it. And I have to say, I actually like several, in fact, maybe even most of what they claimed to hear was what I heard. This was actually, I feel like, one of the clearer ones.
It was because it
Me.
was a robot. Because a robot saying it to you. Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. And I wondered, now that we've talked about the circus, it makes me wonder if some of those things, some of the people that were these daredevils over there, who knows? But I just think there's a lot of energy at the airport. I don't know how, a lot of things have happened and things going on there. So who knows what might be heard. So
But what's
so
interesting though is that we talk about like horrific events that have occurred, and then
mhm.
there must be a haunting then. But why doesn't the reverse mean anything? That there was no horrific events, so then therefore there could be nothing that would be here.
But it turns out, right? You don't necessarily have to have a horrific event for there to be spirits drawn to a place.
But then I'm saying then that is a poor argument then next time to say, well, it was a horrific event, so there has to be some kind of ghost there.
So I think here's the thing. When there's an event, I think we sometimes then attribute this ghostly activity, ding, 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 must be someone that event happened to, right? Like that helps us like identify a ghost. But I don't know that you necessarily like someone needs to have died in a location for them to have their spirit be there, right? Like they could be drawn to it because it was a place they spent a lot of time in life, whatever. Or it's just a
Okay.
high energy place, so it's a place that draws spirits to it. Um, I don't know that I don't. I mean, again, not everyone's going to feel that way, but I think it's possible. And I'm curious
We
if our listeners have any thoughts on that to let us know. info@ghostlypodcast.com.
Yeah, and we also have an ongoing argument. Are residual ghosts actual ghosts or dead people
Yes.
that are haunting? So here's my other question is what about if there is this kind of experience, but there never was a person? Is that still a ghost?
It's
Like,
still a haunting. I guess I don't know if I'm not sure if I'd call it a ghost,
So
but
like a
it certainly.
manifestation.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Like
yeah.
there's tricksters, right? There's like
Pranksters, as we heard in our
pranksters.
to give a
Yeah.
shout out to our book club people. And by the way, your little thing where he said fly up there reminded me of He's Down There,
Oh
which is
gosh,
a
that was
reference
scary.
to our book club book. By the way, if
Yeah.
you're not in the book club, it's
Ah,
free.
it's
And you
free
get
and
to hang
it's
out with us and talk about ghostly stuff
yeah,
because we always pick ghostly books.
yeah. And you get to just, yeah, read a fun, scary book, and then we just get on Zoom and we all talk about it. It's
Yeah,
super
so
fun.
how do they register for this
Yeah,
book
if
club?
you go to ghostlypodcast.com /book club, or I think when you're on there, if you go to contact, is with the menu that it's under. So contact us. There's an option for book club, and I haven't updated it with our next book yet, but I will. I will soon.
Okay.
We're going to be meeting in January, so give us something
Yeah.
spooky to read for the winter.
And we
Um,
always give you a couple months
yeah.
to read the book too.
hmm
So it's not like there's a really quick turnaround.
Yeah. So if you want to get it from the
Anyways,
library or whatever, it's good.
did we give scores on this one?
No, I don't think so yet.
Zero for me, 0, 0, 0. Nick,
I'm
you
gonna,
want?
I'm gonna give this one a 7 for me because I thought it was good evidence.
Okay.
I am going to reward the efforts of the people that make these devices and give it a 0.1.
I don't really allow points, but I'm going to allow it in this particular circumstance.
Well, if you don't allow points, we'll just round it
to 0. All right. So, what would be your overall rating then for this episode? I'm going to go 0 because I'm going to average out all of mine. So,
Yeah. How about for you, Nick?
Yeah, same.
I think for me, I'll go 6. I had 5, I had some
6.
7s, 6s, so we'll end at a 6.
All right. So that brings us to the closing arguments. This is our last chance to convince you to vote our way. We are each given 1 minute of uninterrupted time. We will not time each other on our cell phones. In this particular episode, we are going to use a fancy new app that I downloaded, which costs $0, so that we can all see the timer then as we go. So
No
let me
pressure
go
at
ahead.
all.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. It's going to take me a second. And
All right,
there it
am I up
is.
first?
Yes, Rebecca, you're always up first. And are you ready?
Sure.
And go.
All right. So the Fresno Airport, it may not have as much flashy stuff as some of the other airports we've talked about, but it is always up there on some of the top lists of haunted airports, most haunted airports. And so to me, there's something there, right? We have people that work in the terminal seeing things. We have people in the restaurant seeing things. And then we have investigators going there and finding evidence. Again, there may not have been airplane crash that we saw or we could learn about, but that doesn't mean that it's not a place that spirits aren't drawn to in death as they were in life, or who knows what other kind of energy or spirits are there. So I definitely think it's something, and I think it's haunted.
All right, you had 6 seconds left, Rebecca. So I'm going to take your 6 seconds then. No, I'm just kidding. Nick, are you ready?
Sure.
And away we go.
So I don't really think there's been anything within this episode that gave us any definitive proof that there is anything haunting this airport. Also, no real proof that like there would be any reason for it. Also, I understand the idea of it doesn't have to be something traumatic or disastrous to cause a haunting, but honestly, unless you believe any large or a place where a large number of people gather is going to be haunted by something, it's not. It just doesn't. There's just not enough of any substance at this place for me to go, oh, there's something here. Other than maybe they need to call pest control. That being said, wing walking is insane and cool, and let's make it happen. Bring it back. Bring back wing walking.
All right.
Here.
You also had 6 seconds left. Yeah, so we're timing this pretty good. Wing walking back. Wow. I'm like a jet plane?
Yes.
I bet they do that. I bet there's people to do that. Oh my God.
Okay. Pat, are you ready? Yes, I am ready. I'm going to go ahead and here we go. All right. So I have been in 151 of these episodes now. And then there's also some. We did Talking Paranormally. We've done a lot of bonus episodes. We've done a lot of different episodes over our now 6 years of Ghostly. In that, I don't know if there was another time that there was less evidence than there is now. I believe that this airport is just a executive airport haunted by the souls of the people that give their 12 hours a day to their job and then take flights, but not by ghost. I don't believe that there's any ghosts there. I just don't. But I want you to vote whichever way that you feel. So go ahead and go to ghostlypodcast.com and click on polls and you can vote. So that is about it. I want to thank everyone so much for listening. Please share us with your friends and family, as word of mouth is our best advertisement. Nick, what do you have going on in your life?
Well, I've got, like I said earlier, my podcast Films Like the First Time. Also, if you
Yes.
live in the Chicagoland area, Memoriam Development is having an improv show this coming weekend in Elgin. It's called Name Your Monster. Pat, I believe you're going to be in that show as well.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And the premise is like reverse murder, right?
something like that.
It'll be
I'm
something
Yeah.
spooky.
Yeah.
The Halloween
Yeah.
Improv is always fun. It's one of my favorite shows of the year for sure. Whatever you guys do, it's always fun.
Yeah,
Kind of
Yeah,
a
and
good Halloween thing to
yeah.
well,
do.
Rebecca, you've seen us do a lot of improv, and
Mhm.
this is the one that you seem to be able to tolerate the best is when we do these kind of things like this.
Yes.
Because some of them are just kind of craziness.
Yeah.
But this is craziness on a whole different level,
Well, I
and
like it because I don't mind the Whose Line games or whatever. They're fine, but
yeah,
after you see them enough, it's just kind of like got it.
it ruins the magic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but these are fun because you make up like a story essentially on the fly, and it's really fun to see how it's done. And there usually is,
there's
lots of funny
twists. There's
moments and
yeah.
yeah, and you do it with a lot of different kinds of stories. So yes, these are fun. I find them interesting. They keep my attention, which is good. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I also want to give a shout out to our VIP producers. They are a group of Patreon supporters that really help us with these episodes. I don't know where we'd be without them, but I'd like to give a shout out to Andrew,
Alicia,
Becky,
Cindy,
Kevin,
Jessica,
Alice,
Aaron,
Hope,
and Candy.
and on the next episode of Ghostly, this is the one that Rebecca's been waiting for. And I'm really interested. I know we've all been there. Rebecca, you've been there, right?
No, never.
Oh, okay. So you're the only one that has not been there. We're talking about Denver Airport, and it comes out on Halloween Eve.
Yeah, Nick.
Nick, what are your thoughts of Denver Airport and
Yeah.
Blucifer?
The airport is very big and spread out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Blucifer is a lot smaller than I thought it would be when I saw it.
Yes.
Yeah, I always thought it was really big. So interesting. Okay.
Blucifer is a statue of a horse that has that's blue, and that's why they call him Blucifer, because he also has red eyes. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be orange to be like the Broncos and stuff, but for some reason it's red, and it might have killed the maker of it. So spoiler alert, that might be something that you're going to hear about.
I'm very excited about this episode. We're gonna have a very special. Not that Nick is not a very special guest. We've
I'm
had very
not.
special guests every episode this month. But we brought in a someone to help us because the thing about Denver,
we brought in a ringer.
a
That's what
ringer
we
for
did.
this
Yeah.
because this is ghosts and more. Sometimes
High
we've done
strangeness.
high strangeness place, so there's more, and so we need expertise in that. So we're bringing in someone extra special for that. So
And
yeah.
hold on, in this one, it does focus a little bit on UFOs and stuff. So I might be the believer, and Rebecca might be the skeptic.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. There's cryptids,
Yes.
there's aliens, there's ghosts, there's everything.
Like
So
I usually know going into an episode, I'm
curses,
probably
it
not
sounds
going to
like.
believe in the ghost, but this is not
Mhm.
ghost. This is other stuff too. So who
Mhm.
knows? I
Who
might
knows?
end up believing this.
Absolutely. And so a couple things to remember. Polls are open all through the month. So if you haven't voted on any of the episodes yet, you still can. As Pat said, go to ghostlypodcast.com/polls. Also, if you have a listener mail, we are always excited to hear your ghost stories. So please send us those at info@ghostlypodcast.com or use the contact us form at ghostlypodcast.com. And it's got our address on there, email, everything if you want to send us some snail mail. We love ghost stories, and if we get yours, we very well may read it on a future episode. So definitely share it. And then one last shout out, just because Nick and I are both here. Nick and I right now are reading a lot of spooky plays, short plays for Nightshade, which is something that Memoriam produces in the wintertime. It's going to be in February, and it's a bunch of spooky plays. And it's always a fun time. So
What's the theme this time?
Opposing Forces.
Yes.
Opposing Forces. Wow.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good stuff. So yeah, so anyways, keep an eye out for that if you're in the area. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time, stay ghostly.
Bye.